Sound check. Sound check. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with the Wellness Way, Yorkville. Happy Monday, guys. I know this is the second go around I have for the live broadcast. I went live a little bit earlier this afternoon. So if you are joining us right now, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for this live question and answer. If you're watching right now, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I see that we have Georgia um, already tuning in. So thank you very much for doing that. It's good to see you guys. So question and answer. I will be taking a couple of questions. Hold off in just a second. I'm going to go over just with you just a couple of things, and then we'll have some time for some questions. I'll let you know what I want you to ask the question, so that way we make sure that we have enough time, and I can take it in the order that you ask that question. In the order that you ask that question. So today is Monday, November 10th. Man, time flies. Holy cow. So I will be going over some questions as they come in, as they get submitted. I'll go over a couple of principles and concepts and things like that, just as we have people that are jumping on with us online. So if you're watching right now, again, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Right now, we're broadcasting to Facebook, at Dr. Nathan Thompson, YouTube at Dr. Nathan Thompson, The Wellness Way Yorkville on Facebook, and also on the wonderful Rumble platform. However, if you are watching on Rumble, I will not be able to see the chat questions that you submit to that. So now let's get into it. So, guys, I had a video last week. Hopefully, guys, you tune in and you watch a different perspective with Dr. Patrick Flynn. He broadcasts every Saturday at 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. This is one, guys, I really wish that I hope that you would watch, only because Dr. Patrick goes over wonderful, wonderful things every single week. And this week, no doubt, was very, very important because he tackled the whole idea of the HPV vaccine, okay? And why, he said, he believes that it's actually one of the most damaging and detrimental and dangerous, what's out there, And so he goes over the reasons why, and a lot of it has to do with the type of aluminum that they inject into people, and why there's so many problems when it comes to it. And he explains from a biochemical standpoint, from an immunological standpoint, exactly why that is. So if you didn't have a chance to go ahead and watch that, make sure that you go back to thewellnessway.com. I'll show you exactly how to find it. So if you just go on to thewellnessway.com, you'll see this picture pop up, and then you'll see in the very, very top, watch ADP. And if you click on that, you'll be able to see the live broadcast that's hosted on the website. So it is on Facebook, it is on YouTube, I believe, but it's also hosted on the actual website. So that way it can't get taken down, or it can't have any issues with that, because they're hosting the actual from their own platform. So go to thewellnessway.com, go to watch ADP, a different perspective, click on that, and you'll see about the HPV vaccine. So I really do think that a lot of people are getting hurt by it. And he explains why that is. So make sure that you go back and you watch it with an open mind, especially. So right now, guys, if you have any questions, I want you to start asking those questions, because when I finish up going over some things, I'll be able to answer some of the questions that people have. So if you do have a question, go ahead and just type it in the chat comment. I'll be able to see it on Facebook. I'll also be able to see it if you're watching on YouTube right now too. So guys, this is coming up quickly, man. This time of year during the holidays, I will discuss a little bit with the holidays. But coming up, our next inflammation event, yes, it's going to be the last one of this year of 2025, is on Tuesday, December 2nd at 6:00 p.m. This is an in-person event. So if you are a longtime watcher, a longtime lurker, and you are from the Chicagoland area and you want our help and you want a different perspective or a different approach when it comes to your health, please make sure that you reach out and you get registered for the next inflammation event. This is true because inflammation, chronic unrelenting inflammation, has an intimate connection when it comes to weight loss resistance, when it comes to cancer, when it comes to problems conceiving, when it comes to thyroid issues, chronic joint pain, type 2 diabetes, autoimmunity, and yes, even hormone imbalances. There's all an inflammatory component, guys. And if you realize just how important it is, there's not one person that would not want to be at that inflammation event. So please make sure that you get registered for that. If you're from the Chicagoland area, all you have to do is just click on the link tree that we have on all of our socials. If you click on that link, you'll see the inflammation event to register for it. That will be at the very top. You will see that first. So if you click on that, that'll take you to Eventbrite and take you 60 seconds to register. And if you get registered for it, a member of my staff will reach out to you to confirm your attendance later on at that event. So we do a lot of work in order to plan and be able to prepare for you for that event. And so if you want to come to that, make sure that you reach out and you get registered for that free event. We have a gift for you too at the event. Now, in addition to that, we still have people reaching out that want help. We are working remotely right now. And in fact, if you are from outside of the Chicagoland area and you want to work with me directly, I am taking some remote consults on a limited basis. However, here's a stipulation. Is for men only. You have to live in the contiguous United States. So it's within the continental United States. And then if you want to sit down and start to see health from a different perspective, all you have to do is just call and reach out at our office at 630-553-6149. And a member of my staff will get you scheduled for a remote consult with me. And that's when I'll look at some of your initial labs, give you a little bit different perspective, see if you want to get any additional labs. And we have the ability to be able to schedule you for all of those different things. So make sure that you reach out and get scheduled for that before these spots fill up. All right. Now, here's one of the biggest things. I know people ask me all the time. They're asking for a protocol. They're asking for, well, what supplement do I need to be on? What's your protocol? There is no protocol, guys. I will tell you this. However, if people said, what's one of the biggest things that you do? And I will actually say this, is that you empty out the bucket. Well, what do you mean by the bucket? Everything that you are doing to fill up the bucket that starts to decrease the body's ability to be able to adapt and to be able to heal. So the bucket is thoughts, trauma, and toxins. Okay. Thoughts, trauma, and toxins. And that's a very simple concept. However, when you look at mental stress, when you look at um, issues, any kind of physical trauma to the nerve system, when you look at toxins and things like that are really causing a high immune system response, the body has the ability to get well. It's a self-healing, self-regulating organism. But the thing is when you start filling up the bucket faster than you can empty those out, that's when the body starts to get sick. And so this is why, the biggest thing I say with working with me, you need to learn what you need to do in order to not fill up the bucket. That's one of the biggest things, is not fill up the bucket. So you can do some things in order to empty that out. It's a very simple, in simple idea. However, it can get a little bit nuanced when you're talking about testing and things like that. So this is a pretty simplistic term of some of the things that we do, but if you put it in the simplest terms, is you have a bucket, and if you are filling it up faster than what you can empty it, then that's when the body starts to go into an adaptation, eventually leading into a disease process. Okay. All right, guys. If you got any questions, make sure that you start putting questions within the chat, right now. However, I did have somebody ask me this last week. They said, "Hey, what do your habits look like during the holidays? Because we're coming into the holidays, and I always say this is people treat the holidays as like some kind of 2-month hiatus away from everything that they did in order to get themselves better, and they feel like they have to participate in what their family or what society says that they're supposed to do." So they said, "Well, what do your habits look like during the holidays?" So, and I'll answer that pretty easily. What do your habits look like during the holidays? Here is this straight answer. My habits do not change because of a time of year. My habits do not change because of a time of year. Just because there's Thanksgiving, because there's Christmas, is it doesn't turn into a 6-week hiatus in which, instead of celebrating the reason why we're celebrating, giving thanks to our Almighty God, for the wonderful gifts that He's given, we tend to, during this time of year, we tend to celebrate not God, but we celebrate ourselves. So I don't celebrate myself during this time of year. And just remember this, my habits don't change because of a certain time of year. In fact, my habits don't change just because it's Saturday or Sunday or just, a certain day of the week. Certainly not a time of the year. My habits do not change. So what are some of the things that remain constant that aren't variable during this time? Yeah, I still eat the same. That's why I would say, hey, during this time of year, just really stick to no sugar. And if you don't know what that is, it's primarily meats, primarily vegetables, with maybe a little bit of fruit. But stay no sugar, and don't be celebrating yourself with all kinds of Halloween candy and some kind of cakes and, all kinds of junk food during this time. I always get adequate sleep. In fact, I'll get 8 to 9 hours every single night. That doesn't matter on the time of day. Doesn't matter whether it's the weekend or not. Always get adequate sleep. In fact, I always focus on trying to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. That's just a habit that I do. And then on top of that, get adjusted. Take care of the physical frame of the body, because of the spine, because of the nerve system, and don't change anything that you're doing when it comes to exercise. So I don't add anything to it, but I certainly don't subtract what I'm doing. And in fact, during this time of year, if you would follow me around, everything looks the same. And the reason why is because my habits don't change just because of a time of year. My habits are actually largely based on my priorities. Okay. Now, I will say this, I have a pretty boring life. My life's centered around my priorities, not a time of year. And so this is why you have to understand, what are your priorities? Because if you don't understand what your priorities are, then all you are is just a flag in the wind, and you'll blow wherever someone wants to take you. So this is why I always tell people, without priorities, without something to anchor you, then you just tend to just float around in the wind, and people tend to yank you in the direction that they want to take you. And they don't want what's best for you. They always want what's best for them. So you have to, during this time of year, start doing what's best for you. But this comes down to what's known as maturity. It comes down to maturity. So a mature person is anchored. A mature person knows their priorities, and they understand a time of year doesn't dictate what I'm going to be doing. And this just comes down to maturity. Well, how do you dictate, or how do you know what your priorities actually are? And if you want to keep it very, very simple, I call it the 4 F's, and I learned this a long time ago. Especially being in practice for 22 years, it can get very it can get busy. There's no doubt about it. But one of the things is that if you have priorities, then it allows you to be able to schedule around your priorities getting accomplished. So this is why I look at life as 4 F's: your faith, your family, your fitness, and your finances. So, yes, you do have to look at your finances. Yes, you have to look at your fitness. Yes, you have to pay attention to your family. And yes, by all means, you need to have faith as a priority. Now, here's the thing is that every single day, I'll pull out my little list of things that I need to accomplish in order to start moving those forward. And I will not sleep if I don't get those things done. So this is why every single day I'm touching one of those 4 F's, and I'm certainly not, just putting it on the back burner and saying, well, I'll get to it when I can get to it. No, no, no. It's a priority, and I am handling my priorities every single day because I know that if you handle your priorities every single day, then one of the things that happens is these things just don't fall apart, and and it's not a surprise if something happens if you are attending to those things every single day. So faith, family, fitness, and finances. Now, did I work out today? Nope. But it's scheduled that I'm not working out today. Will I work out tomorrow? Yes. Will I work out on Thursday? Yes. Will I work out on Wednesday? No. How about Friday? Nope. It is Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Come hell or high water, I'm making sure that that gets done because that is a priority in my life. So I'm always touching on those things, and it's not contingent on the day of the week. It's not contingent on a time of the year or anything like that. And that just comes down to maturity. Okay. Now, I've talked about this on the past, but this is actually one of my most favorite quotes, autobiography stories. That I don't know what you want to call it, but I really, really love this. And this is something that I want to share with you because this actually really, it just kind of is a synopsis of most people's life. Okay. And I want to know where you're at, with this. And this is called an autobiography in 5 short chapters. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It wasn't my fault, and it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I still don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there, and I still fall in. It's a habit. It's my fault. I know where I am, and I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. And then chapter 5, I walk down a different street. And where I want to know with you guys, put your chat in the comments, is I want to know what chapter are you in your life? And so many times I see people, who don't have the concept of what's known as double loop learning, meaning they make a mistake, they don't learn from it, and they just keep falling into the same pattern over and over again. And they have no idea why they fell in the hole, and they have no idea how to get themselves out. But I would say that I try to be in chapter 5 all the time of just not walking down the street with the hole in it. I just don't want to walk down that street. And so many people, they're still stuck in chapter 1 and chapter 2. Where you need to be at is for growth is you need to be in chapter 5. And that's why I've seen it so often, here in my office, and I've seen it, I've made the mistakes in my own life, and that you reflect and you learn and you start doing it in a different way. You start taking a different approach. And this is why I walk down a different street. I don't even walk down the same street. I want to walk down a different street. Okay. All right. So question to answer. And again, guys, if you have a question, put it in the chat for a chance for me to ask that. Someone asked me this last week. Hey, how do I improve my skin? How do I improve my skin? And in fact, I had a young girl, who came in earlier today, who was having a lot of gastrointestinal issues and a lot of skin issues. And I asked her this question. I said, why do you want this fixed? If this were to be corrected, what would that do for you? Or what would we be able to do better or be able to do again? And she gave me an honest answer, and it inspired me, but it broke my heart just a little bit. And she said this, she said, Dr. Nate, if I could improve my skin, I could look in the mirror and like what I see. Oh, this was tough for me to swallow because, as someone who had a lot of problems with my skin growing up, and it was just slathering myself with all kinds of, benzoyl peroxide and, things to dry out my skin, and nothing ever happened. No one ever sat down and said, maybe this is an inside out job and not an outside in job. Because that's what I was just trying to do, is just put things on my skin. And it never helped. It never helped long term. I probably made Oxy-10 a lot of money growing up. But how do I improve my skin? Okay. And here's a misconception a lot of people have. People think it's outside in and it's not inside out. And I'll give you a perfect example. When people start having skin issues, they think, oh, well, is it my soap, or is it my clothes that I'm wearing, or how I'm washing my clothes? Or, do I need coconut oil, or what do I need, on that? They're always thinking about outside in and not inside out. So it is all about inside out. If you improve the health inside, then it will be a reflection of better skin health on the outside. This is why we look at this from the Swiss watch principle. And this is one of the biggest things I think is just missing so badly, missing the boat when it comes to healthcare. And when you talk about the Swiss watch principle, everything affects everything. This is why we talk about the gastrointestinal system and how it affects your skin. This is why when we talk about, your big toe controlling your heart, and you're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, take off your shoe, give me a hammer, I'll smash your big toe, and then let's check out what your blood pressure and what your heart rate is. All right. So you have to start looking at it from a little bit different perspective. We call this the Swiss watch principle. This is why you look at all those different gears. They all need to be turning. They all need to be turning normally in order for everything else to start to work normally as well. But this is why when people are having a lot of issues when it comes to the skin, this is why you always will look at the gastrointestinal health, okay? Because when you have very poor gastrointestinal health, remember, it's a barrier. A lot of your immune system is sitting there. So when that starts to inflame, when that starts to go sideways, it will start to affect the skin, which is also another barrier. So this is why when you look at the gastrointestinal system, this is why, inflammation, looking for infection. It can also be related to deficiencies. One of the biggest deficiencies can be related to vitamin A, especially when you're talking about, people who are having issues with acne or eczema or something like that. And in fact, if someone has issues with a lot of acne and things like that, this is why they give, some kind of synthetic retinol, synthetic vitamin A, and then have to look at your liver numbers to make sure that you're not, causing an increase in certain liver markers to make sure that it's not getting extremely toxic. You also have to look at, from an inflammatory standpoint, also immune reactions to food proteins. And you'll notice when you have an immune reaction to certain food proteins, then you'll see that it will start to affect your skin. I'll give you a perfect example. If you have an IgE mediated allergy to peanuts, and let's say it's a really bad one, well, you have peanuts, and then all of a sudden you'll notice it starts to affect your skin because you'll break out in hives. You'll notice that it will affect your breathing. So you just think something that you ate that's related to your gastrointestinal system will affect your immune system. It will affect your lungs, and it will affect your skin. It'll affect the integumentary system. This is why, guys, everything affects everything. But if you want better skin, it's an inside job, and you really need to start working on healing it from the inside. And this is why, guys, testing really, really, really is so important. Testing is going to be so important, especially when you're talking about your skin health, okay? Especially when you're talking about your skin health. So, guys, coming up on Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 o'clock p.m. is our next inflammation event. This is the last one of the year, which means if you miss that and you want to be at that, our next one's not going to be into like mid-January. So it's going to be a while before we do our next inflammation event. This is an in-person event. All you have to do is you have to get registered for. So go on our Linktree profile, click on that link, and then you'll see it will take you to this page, and then you just register for that inflammation event. And we do have limited availability at that event. So make sure we had a lot of people at our last one last week. So make sure that you get registered for that so that we know that you are coming and we can make proper arrangements to make sure that we can serve your needs as best as possible. So get registered for that. Click on that link. That will take you to our Eventbrite page, and you'll be able to register for that in about 30-40 seconds is all it registers and takes to register, and my staff will reach out to you and get you confirmed at that event. Okay. Now, in addition to that, if you peruse a little bit more, you'll be able to see you can order t-shirts and things like that. My favorite one by far is the Mandate Burpee t-shirt. Only because that was created in direct defiance to our horrible governor. I'm sorry. He is just a horrible governor. Governor J.B. Pritzker. I hope he's watching this, which I know he's not. He's probably at the buffet line right now. That's one of the reasons why we came up with the Mandate Burpees t-shirt. But we also have a lot of other ideas, a lot of other great shirts that you can order, get it shipped directly to your house on demand. So get registered for that, or you can check out our t-shirt store that we have online as well. Okay. Now, remote consults, again, if you're a man and you live in the contiguous 48 states, then reach out to us at 630-553-6149. That's our office telephone number. And then, just leave a message and my staff will get back to you. They'll get you registered for a remote consult with me. And usually we do that on Thursday mornings when I have a little bit more time during that time. So, all right, guys. So I know that we have a couple of awesome people that are joining us right now. So Jackie, it's good to see you. I hope you are well. It's always good to hear from you. It's always a pleasure to work with you too, because you have such a wonderful spirit and a wonderful, you have such a wonderful demeanor, and it's always just a great joy to be able to take care of you. So thank you for tuning in. And then Georgia, thank you so much for tuning in. I know that you're a longtime listener. I've seen you on here for years, and I'm so appreciative of you. Thank you very much for doing that. I wish you a great Thanksgiving and even a better Christmas and New Year's. Okay. So thank you guys very much. Thank you guys very much. Now, I know we're probably a little bit short on questions, only because I answered a bunch of questions earlier on a live broadcast. So people might be a little bit questioned out at this time. So thank you guys so much thank you very much for watching this. I always appreciate you. And make sure that you share this video with as many people as possible. We'll always be giving you great content to be able to watch and be able to share with other people. But thank you guys very much for being longtime listeners to this broadcast that we do. I sincerely love you and appreciate every single one of you. So guys, I will be back next week for a live broadcast. I always been trying to come up with new topics and things like that. Very important topics, but make sure, guys, that if you didn't, I'll go ahead and put this up here one more time, but make sure that you go onto thewellnessway.com. So go on to thewellnessway.com and then make sure that you watch Dr. Patrick Flynn's live broadcast about the HPV vaccine. It's a little bit long. However, he does an awesome job because he talks about the type of aluminum that we use and what you can do in order to help with aluminum toxicity, which actually involves, mineral water, things that has silica in it, which will be in a lot of water, like mineral water that contains a lot of minerals as well. Okay. So a different perspective, go on there about the HPV vaccine, and he lays it out absolutely beautiful. And then talks about some of the things that you can do too. And there's also an interview with a wonderful doctor, Dr. Paul Thomas, and it just goes over what he did as a pediatrician in Portland, Oregon. And literally when he disagreed with the narrative, how they literally took his license away only because he disagreed with the narrative. And this is why I will say is that doctors, MDs are scared to death to go against the narrative, because when they do that, man, I tell you what, the medical board will try to snatch their license away. And I've had people say, oh, they should take away your license. And I'm like, you go ahead. Try to take it away. I will be so loud. I will be so boisterous. People will know what's going on, but you will try to cut out my tongue, and I'll learn sign language. You can do whatever you want. I will find another way in order to get this message out to as many people as possible. So do your best. Do your absolute best. And I will find another way. You can cut out my tongue. but I'll start speaking with my hands. You can cut off my hands, and I'll start. I don't know what I'll do. I'll figure it out though. So, guys, I thank you so much for watching this live broadcast. Please share it widely with as many people as possible. I will be back on next Monday with a live broadcast. So, guys, be well, be blessed. Remember who you are. And I hope that you have an awesome holiday season. But just remember this, your priorities should never change just because it's a different time of the year. So take care of yourself during this time. Don't put yourself in a hole so that you need to start doing massive things to try to dig yourself out of a hole. So the easiest thing I tell people is, if you find yourself in a hole, just first and foremost, stop digging. So I'll be back here next week with a lot of awesome content for you guys. Be well, be blessed. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great week coming up, and be blessed.